Welcome back to another episode of the Pit Lane Yappers. I'm Mox.
I'm Rosie, and this is our Monza recap. It is round 16.
Home of Ferrari and Kimi Antonelli.
But mostly Ferrari. I'll be honest.
Speaking of Ferrari, they had a special livery for Niki Lauda's, celebrating 50 years with his championship with Ferrari.
Yes. They had like a royal blue.
I wish there was a little more blue.
Fireproof and boots.
Yeah. I wish the suit was blue. Imagine like that royal blue.
Yeah.
That would have been so. However, that merch was really pretty.
We have known that Ferrari's design team
are men.
I know. That's enough said about them.
Also, Alex Dunn was in for Oscar Piastri.
Yes.
And Paul Aaron was in for Franco Colapinto.
Yes.
So we had two rookies.
Paul Aaron, employed man.
Shocking with Alpine's records, but
yeah.
Also, we got the announcement in FP1 that Monaco was locked in until 2035. I have an unpopular opinion. I think Monaco is one of the most boring races on the calendar. Literally,
I personally,
Vegas is more boring. Don't get me wrong. Vegas is the most boring track of the season. Monaco is right below it.
However, listen. Now that Charles has won Monaco, they can get rid of it. Okay.
I get the history. It was started in Monaco. That was the first. I get it, but like it is kind of boring because it's so tight and dangerous. Nobody ever overtakes. Like it's boring.
Like we don't need to do anything now. Charles has won Monaco. Okay, wrap it up.
But yeah. So FP1, Ferrari got into Italian soil and remembered they were a car. Like they were.
My God.
Flying.
It was so good to see.
It was literally the power of the Tifosi, I felt like. Also, I feel like I know Charles is the Tifosi's lover. Like, that is their Jesus Christ. I get it. However, seeing how many more people were in red this season because of Lewis Hamilton, I was like, it's literally just red.
Did you see when they were at the Vatican or I don't know, wherever it was, and it was just red. Like I'd say easy a mile.
Miles. Yeah, it was I think it was the Milan Cathedral. They had the car unboxing, like unveiling right in front of it. It was just like I was like, those poor people who are just trying to go home and can't get through the sea of people.
People on Twitter told me that Lewis Hamilton had to prove himself to gain the love of the Tifosi.
No. He's already proved himself 7 times over.
I don't think I've seen crowds like that ever.
No. Like, that's crazy. But you know who else was flying for Monza? Which was better than last year?
The Williams?
Alex Albon.
Yeah.
He had a really bad Monza weekend last weekend. We don't talk about that, but he had a really bad one. That was when they DNF'd him, and then they sent him back out because he had a penalty, and then they DNF'd him again. So he really needed a redemption for his self-esteem, and he got it. He did pretty well this free practice and throughout the whole weekend. It seemed like a lot of people who were not expected to do well did well. The Williams. Aston Martin was doing pretty well. And Max, I don't know what it is about Italian soil. Maybe he's like, you know what? This is the car that I'd love to drive one day. I'm going to prove myself to the Tifosi now. But Imola first and now Monza. He is doing the unspeakable.
He just likes to ruin Charles Leclerc Day, I think.
But also a little more like engineering techie side of it. McLaren was running 2 front wings to test. One was on Oscar's and one was on Lando's, and then FP2 they were going to switch and see which ones they thought were better. I don't know what they were for. All I know is they had 2 different front wings that were like minimally different. There wasn't that big of a difference, but I think Lando was testing 1 and Oscar was testing 2, and then they swapped, but I'm not sure. But that was something to note. I also don't know what they went with. They never told me, so how was I supposed to know? But there was also a yellow flag. Paul Aaron spun.
It was announced during FP1 that Lewis Hamilton had a 5-place grid penalty.
Oh.
For
I think that was during FP2.
For something that happened last weekend. I think 5 places is crazy.
Yeah, Zandvoort, he failed to slow under yellow flags.
Yeah.
I will say Ollie Behrman had the same penalty, and he got a 10-place grid penalty. So 5 places seems very nonchalant for what the FIA gave before, but like at the same time, like 5-place grid penalty and FP1, you're really?
I think they knew they couldn't give a Ferrari a 10-place penalty.
If they wanted to get out of there alive, yeah.
Yeah. There's like just no way.
But Hadjar also got a black and white flag for not following the race director's instructions. He went off in one of the turns, and he joined the track after the chicane exit, which was sort of blind. So they noted him for that. Nothing came out of it, but he was noted for it. And Williams also dropped something in their pit box when Gabriel Bortoleto was coming into pit, and he had to avoid it. And people were like, that's really frustrating. You have to practice pit stops all weekend. I'm like, it was 1 pit stop. And it was a tire blanket. So even if he drove over that,
it wouldn't have
really damaged the car. But he was very much like, Williams dropped something, that's why I came in all skewed, wonky. Which makes sense. And then right after that, Isack came onto the radio, and he's like, hey, can you check the floor, please? I flew through the gravel. And then there was a red flag because there was so much gravel on the track. And that is when Charles Leclerc got noted. He overtook during a red flag. And he immediately clocked that he was going to get noted, because he goes, I tried to slow down as fast as I could. I couldn't slow down anymore. I'd be killed. I'd be hit from behind. I had to overtake. Which the commentators were saying, I think it was DC who was like, he could have done more. No, it was Rosberg. It was Rosberg. He's like, he could have done more.
Rosberg can shut up.
There was no further investigation on Charles Leclerc. I do feel that's kind of unfair, because once again, going back to Ollie Behrman, he got literally like a freaking 20-place grid penalty for it. I think it was in Monaco.
Yeah, but again, like, I know they'd already given Lewis 5 places. And Lewis is Lewis for sure. But Charles is
Charles,
the Tifosi Messiah.
But there was a little fun fact. Aston Martin has scored 26 more points at the last 2 races, which was more than any team besides Mercedes and McLaren. We're doing something right, guys. We're doing something right. But
yeah, the something right is a double Ferrari DNF.
Oh. Also, another fun fact is Max had his longest streak without a podium since 2018, before Zandvoort, and his podium at home ended that. Which was a little fun fact. I was like, of course it was at home. Why not? And then Russell had a black and white flag once again for not rejoining the track at the right time, like Hadjar. And then right after that, it was a yellow flag because George lost power. I have words to say to Toto Wolff this weekend, but I'll leave it till after the race, okay? But P1 was Lewis Hamilton, P2 was Charles Leclerc, and P3 was Carlos Sainz.
It's like the Williams seemed very comfortable, but it is unusual this season for Carlos to be faster than Alex.
He's been it a few times, but like the majority of the time it's been Alex and then Carlos. So, yeah. But I mean, it's Monza, where he's used to driving as Ferrari. Like, he probably still has that mentality of, I need to be at the best I can be.
Well, I think everybody has that at Monza. I don't know what it is about Monza, but, like, you know.
But that takes us into FP2. Immediately, Oscar Piastri was on track, and he's like, hey, my mirror's cracked.
Yeah, I don't know.
And also, interesting to note, I don't know who said it. I don't know which one said it. But this weekend is not McLaren's weekend. They have too much drag on the car for Monza, which is high speed, a lot of straights. It is not a McLaren track. They said most of the time, the only car that actually works on the track very well is Ferrari's, because Ferrari builds it for Monza. And I know DC's like, don't expect the ones that you expect to be at the top. Don't expect McLaren. Don't expect Mercedes. Don't expect Red Bull. And I was like, who's expecting Red Bull at the top? Not me. That's for sure. I was like,
who's left to expect?
Ferrari. But I was like, okay. If Ferrari can figure out their strategies, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. But it's true. And then the other McLaren, Lando, lost his right mirror. It just flew off the car. Something was going on with the McLaren mirrors. And then we got a yellow flag. Kimi Antonelli was in the gravel, and it moved to a red flag. And I was like, that's really disappointing, because it's his home race. That's the last place he wanted to be.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? At least it's in a practice session and not the race. So.
Yeah.
But that brought out the red flag, because they had to literally basically chairlift him out. But Alonso was P3. It didn't last long, everybody.
Yeah, there we go.
But while the yellow flag was out, Bortoleto was noted for a yellow flag infringement. I don't really know what it was. Nobody really said what it was. But I did notice that everybody was struggling with the gravel and slowing down and speeding up. And I was like,
Bortoleto clashed with Oscar, but I don't think that's what I've written down anyway.
Also, as soon as we went back to a green flag, Lewis reported that he was losing power between turns 6 and 7 only.
Odd, but so likely.
And Ferrari went, we are checking.
Extremely likely.
Apparently they figured it out, because Lewis stopped reporting it, so. And then Charles went into the gravel. I don't think he fully went in. It just says Charles in the gravel. But that wasn't a red flag or anything, so I think he just went over it a little bit. But P1 was Lando Norris, P2 was Charles Leclerc, and P3 was Carlos Sainz once again. Which,
yeah,
I was like, oh my gosh, maybe we will get a Williams podium this weekend. I was brought down to reality.
I would low-key be irritated if it was a Carlos podium, not an Alex podium, though.
I would want an Alex podium before Carlos, but honestly, a podium for Williams is a podium for Williams, whoever it is. Yeah. So, but FP3, no one went out for minutes. Like, I was like, is it green? Oh, it's green.
I'm like, do they know that it started?
I wanted to be like, hey, do you know that it's a green flag?
Yeah. Hey guys, Just let you know.
But do you know who was flying again this session?
Charles.
My boy Max Verstappen. Max? I don't have words for how well he did this session. And actually this entire weekend. But like FP3, he was like, all right, it's time to prove myself. And he wasn't on the podium positions for FP3, but he did do a lot of long runs. And I was like, good for him. He's back. Speaking of Max, V-Carb and Max got into it. I don't know if it was Isack or Lawson. They literally were going at it, and it was practice. And Max came onto the radio, and he's like, what the hell is he doing? He didn't use that word.
Honest,
he used something a little more vulgar, but...
My notes for FP3 goes... Hamilton, Norris, Behrman, Bortoletto, Sainz all off at the first chicane.
I didn't even note that because that's so typical.
But like, it was just that all of them went off, and you know, these are Monza is a track that everybody has driven at.
Yeah.
So like, come on, people.
Yeah. But then really nothing else happened. It was pretty boring compared to FP1 and FP2. P1 was Lando Norris, P2 was Charles Leclerc, and P3 was Oscar Piastri.
1681 lives on, people.
Which takes us on to quali. So Q1, Mercedes was on mediums while everybody else was on softs. But Mercedes was doing faster times than most drivers that were on the softs. So everyone's like, oh, maybe the mediums are the tire to go. So a bunch of teams switched to mediums and immediately switched back to softs because everyone was like,
yeah.
No. But I really found it super funny that this is the pinnacle of motorsport, according to the motorsport world. This is the pinnacle of motorsport. They can't figure out gravel. Literally, if a little piece of gravel gets stuck in their car, it can break their floor. You're telling me multi-million-dollar cars get taken down by a pebble?
And it's not even like gravel is at every track. So
yeah,
perhaps we should figure that out.
But Alonso went P2 this session.
Yeah, I got that in big letters. I also have that Carlos got his lap time deleted.
Yeah. He went over the curb.
Yeah. It was quite bad.
But the drivers out were Liam Lawson, Pierre Gasly, Franco Colapinto, Lance Stroll, and Isack Hadjar. And we have to note this ended Hadjar's streak of being the only driver to get through all 3 qualifying sessions. I do feel like he probably was like, I don't want that red ball seat. I don't want that red ball seat.
Yeah, he was like, whoa.
We're gonna slow it down a bit.
He was like, stop calling me.
He was like, okay, Marco's calling me. Can we slow it down, please? But yeah, it was kind of disappointing to see Hadjar. He's like,
yeah.
They were like, okay, and we are out Hadjar. And he's like, yeah, of course we are. And then, did you see the post-quali interview with him?
No.
They were like, so like, what happened? You said you were obviously out. Like, what happened? He's like, yeah, I mean, Carlos Sainz was all over the track. I couldn't get by him. I was on a flying lap. He was on an out lap. He wouldn't move. I don't know what his problem was, but I wasn't going to get through if Carlos Sainz was holding me up. I was like, Carlos Sainz has met his match.
Listen.
Which, by the way, I love Isack. But Carlos was not that close to him on track. Like, there were a good probably 10 car lengths between them.
Listen.
But I don't know. Honestly, I've never driven an F1 car, so maybe 10 car lengths is not enough time to, like, really have a decent flying lap, but I was like, that's interesting. But
well, I've never driven a car, but I stand by Isack Hadjar, right and wrong.
Period. But that takes us into Q2. Lando, the only notes I have is about Lando. Lando was on a flying lap, and they go, Lando, we need to box. We need to box now.
Yeah, I've had that. I've got Norris come in. Why? Big question mark.
No one said why. We still don't know why. I have a feeling it was from last weekend. Something was still going on. But that caused Lando to be under threat for a while.
Yes.
He did a flying lap. He didn't get the time. He was like P8. He qualified P8.
The other note I have is Antonelli, all capitals, 2 exclamation points. I have no idea why.
He went P1 for a while.
There we go.
But Lando was under threat. Literally, people were getting the checkered flag, and he was doing his flying lap, and he got knocked down into the elimination zone. And I was like, "Are we about to see a McLaren get knocked out?" And then he did a flyer, and he got through.
No, he got out of Q2 because McLaren got on the radio and asked his championship rival to give him a tow out of Q2.
Well, I will say Oscar was P2.
Yeah, you are asking the championship leader to give his most direct rival a tow out of qualifying.
Welcome back, Mark and Sebastian.
Are you?
Everyone compares them to Mercedes. I'm like, no. This is a multi-21 situation. They are going to explode. One person is going to refuse doing team orders, and all hell is going to break loose.
No offense to Mercedes.
Yeah, except maybe Galax if they were on the same team.
Yeah, or maybe like Pierre and Esteban.
Yeah, or Pierre and Charles, like childhood friends that went into F1, but like,
yeah,
but like, if I have a lot of issues with this race, but anyways, the drivers that were out were Esteban Ocon, Alex Albon, Carlos Sainz, Nico Hülkenberg, and Ollie Behrman.
Yes.
Which brings us into Q3, where both Ferraris were in. Once again, Italian soil. It's like, you know how like people say, oh, Santa's alive because they believe in Santa. People believe in Santa and it gives him strength. It's kind of like that, but on Ferrari's home soil, there's so much tifosi that literally just their loyalty is fueling the car.
Do you remember last year when they realised that Charles was going to win the race, and when it would switch to the commentary box, you could hear them through the glass, which is insane because, by the way, the commentary box is supposed to be soundproof, so
it's not.
No.
Any windows like that, it's not soundproof. Sorry, fun fact coming from a person who minored in sound engineering.
It is supposed to be like.
Which, by the way, of course, they need windows. Okay, duh. They're watching the race. They need windows. But they can't call it soundproof if there's windows. But this is where my arguments start with Mercedes. George Russell gets sent out. He's driving. He goes, are we on softs? They go, yep. And he goes, I asked for mediums. And they go, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That is exactly what happened.
Even DC, who never says anything bad about Mercedes because he loves Mercedes, goes, wouldn't you listen to the driver who's actually driving on track and saying, the car feels better in mediums, even if the data doesn't show it's better in mediums?
Yeah.
Anyways, that's all I had except Max Verstappen pole position.
The fastest ever lap in F1 history by average speed. But
yeah, by 7/100ths of a second, which, by the way, it was really funny because F1 TV, Oscar crossed the track. Everyone's like, Oscar Piastri, pole position, but his teammate's right behind. Lando Norris crosses the line. Fastest lap ever recorded. Okay? They showed the McLaren garage cheering like, yeah! Immediately, they were like this, and the commentators are like, but Max Verstappen is on a flying lap behind him. They're still cheering. Crosses the line, you see the VER go up to the top, and the McLaren garage goes, they just stop. And I was like, weird you're not showing Max's flying lap, but it is funny that they just all stopped dead in their tracks when Max Verstappen. Max's pole position also is an all-time record for pole positions for Red Bull Racing. He has beaten Sebastian Vettel's record.
Anyway.
Like, I'm glad it's Max. Out of everybody, I'm glad it's Max, but it's still kind of bittersweet. But, Max Verstappen, you rock my world. Also, last year, the Tifosi was booing him, and this year they were singing his song, and I wanted to cry.
Last year, Ferrari were Max's direct competition, so...
Did you see the post-race interview quote when they asked Max about his lap record he set?
No.
He goes, okay, you ready? I have it literally pulled up. I mean, it's also the new asphalt, different curbs. The track has also just gotten quicker. I think if you put the 2020 Mercedes here, you'll go quicker, especially if you put me in that car. Then we go even faster. This was also, after this qualifying, did you...
What do you mean, especially the 2020 Mercedes? What about the 2023 Red Bull?
But, this was also between quali and then the race, like, overnight, there were rumors about Max, because Fred congratulated him about the pole position, I guess, and then
very normal thing to do, by the way.
Was interviewed, and he's like, yeah, we've been talking to other teams, we've been talking to Mercedes, we've been talking to Ferraris, we've been talking to... And I was like, okay, like, that's normal. Everyone talks to everyone. Just in case.
There's only 10
if you're not,
teams, like...
Let me tell you, if you're not talking to other teams, even if you're locked in, you're screwed. Talk to Daniel Ricciardo, okay? But... everyone flew with it, and they were like, wait a minute, Lewis Hamilton is retiring and Max Verstappen is taking his spot?
I don't know where everybody got this Lewis Hamilton is retiring business from.
It's because he said a few weeks ago, he's like, yeah, the car's not the issue, it's the driver. Maybe I should just leave. But, like, that does not mean he's retiring. It's just a spur of a moment thing. Lewis Hamilton, if you do retire...
It just means he has low self-esteem, which
exactly
will happen to anyone in a Ferrari, by the way.
Anyways... that takes us on to the race. We had 2 pit lane starts, Isack Hadjar and Pierre Gasly. Isack Hadjar because he took new PU units. Gasly was because Alpine didn't cover the car in time.
Yes, and I would just like to say condolences to Nico Hülkenberg.
Oh. Formation lap. Hey, Nico, we need to go in.
Retire the car.
But also, before that, on the you know, like, when they do the lap to get to the grid boxes to then, like, prep for the formation lap in the race, Alonso got into the car. I'm not even joking. He got into the car, and he was under investigation for a race start incident. It was during a race start practice, where he overtook, but he didn't. He stopped, and he was ahead of the car, but it was the momentum of the car. But anyways, nothing came out of that. But also, I don't know if you were watching on F1 TV or if Sky Sports does, like, crazy montages before the race. But
sometimes
before Monza, there was a montage of all these DNFs. There was like Lewis, Charles, Lando. There were DNFs of like Kimi, George. I was like, what is happening? And it was like the most depressing music over it. And I was like,
they're trying to manifest something.
I was like, what is that? Do you want half the grid to go down again?
They were manifesting Nico's DNS.
But anyways, we were down a driver already. And at the race start, Lando overtook. Max took it back. Max took it back over the track. As a Max fan, I will admit he was over the track. Some will not. I will. And Max had to give the position back. And everyone's like, why did he have to give the position back? I was like, did you see? His car was in the gravel.
I would say... Lando said that Max, he was pushed into the grass. He definitely was not.
He was not. He wasn't. But I will say, the second time, yes, Max was off the track.
Yeah.
But Max had to give the position back. GP was like, hey, you need to give it back. He said nothing. Lando overtook him again. And while that was happening, Oscar Piastri...
Wait, no, to be honest, I was surprised that Max gave the position back.
I think Max knew he had the faster car.
I just thought he might take the 5-second penalty like he's done in the past, you know?
Well,
like...
he's not in the 2023 Red Bull. The 2023 Red Bull, like, he'd overtake Lando, and he'd be 30 seconds ahead into turn 1, and they'd be like, okay, Max, you have to give the position back. He's like, they're not going to catch up to me.
I just thought he might do the send my regards kind of vibe.
While that was going on, there was a little battle right behind them for P3. It was Charles versus Oscar. Because Charles had overtaken Oscar into turn 1. And Oscar was like, Lesmos 2. Oscar went on the outside of Charles Leclerc and overtook him, which has apparently never been done before, according to DC and Julian Palmer.
Some good fucking racing.
Yeah.
It was giving me a heart attack.
So Lando was leading the race. Lap 4, Max was like, thank you very much. He overtook Lando again. And I don't remember who it was, but they were like, okay, Lando's got to fight back immediately. Max was like, thank you. And he booked it.
Yeah, he was like, see ya.
I mean, he was building that gap so quickly. And everyone's like, oh, it's because McLaren's the worst on the straights. I'm like, okay, clearly you are not watching the midfield, because if you know anything about cars and straights, Aston Martin's enemy are straight line speeds. Thank you very much.
I have never ever been so relieved to see Max regain P1 in my fucking life. Okay, no hate to Lando Norris. However, we all know that I'm championing for the Piastri Championship this year. There's no question that it will be a McLaren Championship. However, I want it to be number 81, not number 4. And with Oscar running in P3, P4, the last thing I would need is Lando to be in P1.
But, yeah. So Max took off. Adios. And then lap 6, Oscar overtakes Charles again. It was like really like back and forth between them. It was actually a pretty good battle, but because it was Max versus Lando, they were focusing on them. Which is exactly what Oscar needed to do.
Yeah.
He needed to overtake Charles very quickly.
Let's be very real. The Ferrari is not a race-winning car. So, like, there was no question.
The fact that Charles is racing a McLaren at all?
Yeah, fair enough. Like, there was no question that Oscar was going to overtake the Ferrari. It was just a matter of when.
When, not if. And it's just like, what was the quote from Oscar? Like, it's a very different feeling when you have Max Verstappen behind you in a Red Bull. It's not a matter of if, it's when. I felt like that's kind of what Lando Norris was feeling with Max behind him, and Charles was feeling with Oscar behind him.
Yeah.
Because, like...
that quote is now applicable to Oscar himself.
Yeah. But, so lap 6, Oscar overtakes Charles. Lap 7, Ocon and Stroll have an incident, and it was noted. I have no comments other than it was a racing incident in my mind.
Yeah.
I really don't understand the stewards for the past 2 races. I don't understand what is a racing incident and what isn't a racing incident. I don't understand it. But Ocon got a 5-second penalty quite quickly after that. And he was told by Laura Mueller, hey, okay, we have a 5-second penalty for forcing another driver off the track. And Ocon was like, what? That was a racing incident. What are you talking about? So yeah. But he got a 5-second penalty. And then nothing really happened for a few laps. And then lap 19, Lando Norris went into the gravel a little bit.
Yeah.
And he brought gravel onto track. And everyone's like, oh, this is going to be a yellow flag. They're going to have to sweep it off. It wasn't.
It stayed there for a long time.
Yeah. Ollie Pitt, he was the first one. Lap 19, mind you, for hards. And so they were like, all right, he's committing to a 2-stop.
Yeah.
And then right after, Alonso and Bortoleto pit together. Alonso literally almost hit Bortoletto's car because Bortoleto is a rookie, so of course he's going to slow down in the pit lane before Fernando, who is a 2-time world champion and knows exactly where to push the limit. And they were like, if there was anybody else behind Bortoleto, that would have been a collision to close the pit lane. But this was who they were fighting. Aston Martin and Sauber were fighting. And they were like, whoever comes out first in the pit lane, this is important. Because Stake is a little closer to the starting, the exit, but Aston Martin can get it done while Bortoletto's passing still. And Alonso got out ahead. Was it into traffic?
I've had enough with this race and pit stops, okay?
But then a few laps later, lap 25, all of that hard work by Fernando Alonso just disappeared. You want to know why? Because he stopped. Because he has a suspension failure. Mind you, this is exactly what Red Bull did not need. A yellow flag and a safety car. Because Max had built this, gap up to 10 seconds at this point, and if they brought in a safety car, that gap would have been gone. McLaren has a lot better of a starting.
The stream I was watching, they didn't say anything about why Alonso was trying. They were just like, and Fernando Alonso has been told to retires the car. And I was like, what?
Let me tell you. Let me tell you. He takes this very wide line. I think it was into turn 7, right? Very wide. He's been doing it all weekend. No issues. He goes over the curb, crack. You can see it when it cracks. Suspension, gone. He stops, and then Alonso was like, okay, he brought it into the pits, which you can drive a car without a suspension. It's just uncomfortable, and it's not safe, which is why he had to retire the car. A car should not have snapped when it hit a curb. I'm sorry. But that safety car did not happen. And I was like, hallelujah. That's exactly what we didn't need. Because McLaren would have undercut Red Bull then. Because I think Red Bull only had soft tires left. And then Lawson and Tsunoda had a little issue. Their wheels hit each other into the chicane. And they both were like, what the hell is this guy doing? I was like, you know what? At this point, it's a racing incident. I don't know what to tell y'all. Monza's small. You're going to get hit a little bit. You don't have any damage. Continue. Anyways, and then lap 30 is when the black and white flag came out for the first time for Antonelli. He left the track and gained an advantage. I rewatched this. I still can't figure out where it is.
No, me neither, but hey, if they said so.
He overtook on the track, and then he himself caused himself to drive off, and then drove back on, but it wasn't like the car behind him was going to overtake him. But we also have to note, this is when I noticed Isack Hadjar went from pit lane 2 points.
Oh yeah, that guy was in P10.
Like what? In a racing? Okay, whatever. Mind you, this is also when I noticed, I was like, wait a minute, this is lap 30? What happened the past 30 laps? Like, it was like, this race was going so quickly.
It was fast.
And I was like, wait a minute, half the grid hasn't pit. What? We're more than halfway through, and none of the freaking top runners have pit yet. And that is 5 laps later is when Ferrari pit Charles. And he was like, so why are we pitting? And Ferrari's like, well, we needed a pit stop. And he's like, but nobody else pit. Why are we pitting? Because he was fine. It wasn't like he was complaining. Yeah.
Don't.
But then lap 38, Max pit from the front. It was a 2.2 pit stop. We didn't see what Ferrari's was, but Ferrari's seemed to have the fastest.
2, I think.
And then lap 40, literally lap 38, Max pits. And they go, the last thing Red Bull needs right now is a safety car, because that will give McLaren the advantage to be P1 and P2. Okay? As they're saying, the last thing Red Bull needs is a safety car, Carlos Sainz and Oliver Behrman spin each other around.
That was so scary. You could
First of all, terrifying, because it was in a chicane where it was a blind corner, so like people would be flying, wouldn't see them. They could get T-boned. It was kind of like Australia and George.
Did you see the bird's eye view? And they were like both on track, and then you could see a racing ball like coming around the corner. Scary.
And Carlos was behind, and he just turned right into him.
The thing is, Ollie was a bit, Carlos was a bit ahead for sure, but Ollie had easy half
the racing line.
He had
the racing line. He had
there, and Carlos gave him no space.
And guess what? Ollie got the penalty.
Yeah.
And now he's on 10 points in his license.
Welcome back, K-Mag.
But everyone, literally, it was silent. Everybody was like, oh my gosh, is there going to be a safety car? Is there going to be a safety car? There wasn't. Carlos and Ollie were like, hold on, we're on it. We can drive back. They actually finished the race, which was quite impressive. I thought for sure somebody would have had a puncture. Somebody would have done something. So then McLaren was like, oh shoot. We haven't pit either driver yet. They were like, okay, Lando, we're going to box this lap. And Lando goes, no, have Oscar pit.
8 laps to go. What do you mean you haven't pit?
And Lando went, no, can you pit Oscar? You just need to guarantee me I won't get undercut. And they go, okay, we'll pit 81. There won't be an undercut. Oscar pits. It's a 2.1 second pit stop.
It's 1.9.
Oh, mine said 2.1.
It's 1.9. And then Oscar obviously comes out the pits.
And then lap 47, the next lap, they were like, okay, Lando, we're boxing this lap. His pit stop was a 5.9 second pit stop, because the front left wheel gun said it was on, but it wasn't on. Like, I don't really understand what happened. All I know is his front left wasn't on properly. So he got out pretty slow, and he was behind Oscar. It went Max, Oscar, Lando. Mind you, this is not an undercut. They were not undercutting him. This was a mistake.
It was just a slow pit stop.
And McLaren comes onto the radio to Oscar and says, hey, it's like Hungary last year. Let Lando through. Mind you. Lando Norris hasn't said anything on the radio. They would have played it. For sure would have played it. And everyone's like, there is nothing coming from Lando's radio. He said nothing. He did not ask for team orders. He didn't ask for them to say, "Hey, Oscar, slow down, let Lando pass." This was McLaren's choice.
Also, like...
And listen, I get why they did it. It's a McLaren mistake. They promised him no undercut, and then all of a sudden they mess up, so Oscar's ahead. I get it. I get why they did it. I'm not mad that they did it. What's actually very upsetting is if this is Abu Dhabi and there are 2 points between them, and Lando's in front, he has a slow pit stop. Are they going to ask Oscar to move over? And will that cause Oscar to lose a championship? Or vice versa? No, they won't.
The comparison with Hungary, it's so off. Because Oscar was leading the race, and then they deliberately undercut Oscar, and then realised that that was not the right thing to do, and had to, like, beg Lando to correct for the team over the radio, which was just weird in itself.
It's not the fact that they gave him team orders. Yeah. Like, I get why they did it. Don't get me wrong. I get it. It's just, for a championship battle that's this tight, I don't think it was right.
But this comparison...
But it makes sense.
Like, you know, Hungary was just an undercut. This was not...
It was just a slow pit stop.
Yeah, it wasn't a deliberate undercut. And, like, it's just a slow pit stop.
I will say a lot of people are like, oh, Lando's such a baby for asking for team orders. Lando's such a baby. I was like, first of all, Lando was P2 in this championship where he just DNF'd. Yeah. He needed as many points as possible. Of course he's going to say, can you promise me Oscar won't undercut me? He's allowed to say that, and they can say yes. But saying he asked for team orders, or he asked, hey, can you have Oscar let me by? When he was silent, this was the team's choice.
Also,
like, that's really frustrating to me that you're blaming Lando, and you're now going into your comments, his comments, and being like, oh, you suck. You're so nasty. I'm like, what? It's not his fault. He was silent.
On the radio, they had just they'd come on Oscar's radio and said, hey, you're free to race, you're ahead. Yeah. And then
they were like, Oscar, let him by.
Yeah, they were like, can you give the position back?
That
you
was
just told him he's free to race.
That 100% is a Zach Brown, Andrea Stella miscommunication. Yeah. Andrea Stella probably said, let him race. It's a pit stop. That's racing. Zach Brown goes, nuh-uh. Which, yeah. And the funny thing is, GP comes onto the radio with Max. Max is now 18 seconds ahead or something. He goes, okay, Max, just keep this slow and steady, no mistakes. Max is like, yeah, push and relax, no mistakes. He goes, McLaren has called for team orders and to let Lando through. And Max went, because of a slow pit stop?
I think Max...
I am 100% guaranteed if any other team, I'm genuinely serious, if any other team asked a teammate to move over, especially a teammate leading the world championship to move over for his teammate, they'd be like, no.
2016?
This is not to say I don't agree with it, because I get why they do it. I get it. I would be upset that I was guaranteed not to be undercut and then I'm undercut. But at the same time, I would also be like Lando and say nothing and be like, I'm so mad, but it's not Oscar's fault. Oscar's team didn't undercut me. It was my pit crew that messed up, or the gun messed up, or whatever happened. Like, and it's just so frustrating now that it's like this Lando fans versus Oscar fans saying, should they have done it? Should they not have done it? Do I think they should have done it? No. Do I get why they did it? Yes. And it's not Lando's fault either. Like, I think too many people are blaming Lando when he's silent on the radio.
I will say, other team principals have said McLaren have just set a very dangerous precedent. Most notably Toto Wolff, who does know better than probably any other team principal there what it's like to have two teammates fighting
to be a fly on the wall at that McLaren freaking debrief. Because I know for a fact not know for a fact, but most likely Lando probably did not want that to happen, because you want to know what they're going to say now? Yeah. Gifted. That was gifted. That was not a P2 that was deserved.
That was a gifted P2.
It was a gifted P2. If Lando, and then after Oscar let Lando by, they went, okay, you're free to race.
But then
you should have just let them race.
Like,
I think we should ban team orders again. Personally, can we do it again? I think there is going to be a very long talk, and I will say that was the end of the race. P1 was Max Verstappen. P2 was Lando Norris, and P3 was Oscar Piastri. However, in the P2... sorry.
On Oscar's radio, when they asked him to switch back, he went, I thought he was like, oh, we'll need to discuss this more.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've never heard Oscar so angry in my life.
Yeah.
He wasn't even angry, but that was like the angriest he gets.
Yeah, he was pissed off.
Yeah. But in the post-race interview, I think in the media pen, or it was on the couch, I can't remember, they asked Lando, what are your thoughts? And he goes, it's not my fault. It's not Oscar's fault. It's the team. It's the team. Yeah. It's not what I wanted. It's the team's fault. Which I feel like Lando was kind of like Charles with Ferrari. Lando knows no other team but McLaren, and it's like, I want to win a championship with McLaren, but I also believe Lando doesn't want to win a championship because of gifted stuff. Well, I think he wants to win on merit.
Does. McLaren, there's 8 races to go. You have somebody leading the championship by over a win. Like, you need to prioritize your championship leader.
Yeah,
no question.
Even DC was like, I don't understand this, because it's not like they're fighting for constructors. Like, they've won the constructors.
They can win. They can and will win constructors in Baku.
Like, unless they both double DNF, and
they need
Ferrari
to double. Yeah, they
double
need to double
win.
DNF. They need to double DNF for every race. In every next race, and Ferrari need a 1-2 for every next race.
Do you know that
for the constructors to be at risk?
Also, Max Verstappen won the race, and he won the race by the largest winning margin of all season. In RB21.
And also, this is the fastest race ever.
Yeah. I will say Max did not set the fastest lap. Lando Norris did, but Max is still the fastest F1 driver of all time. Thank you.
Thank goodness.
So, who was your winner?
Max. I don't think there's any other. Like, he won the race by 20 seconds. It felt like watching a 2023 race.
Can I just say, Sky Sports goes, Monza's not usually won when you're in pole position. To Max's face, and they tweeted it, and Max went, bet.
Yeah.
All you need to do is tell Max he can't do something, and he will do something. To prove you wrong. He's so mean.
I do think it was pretty funny that Ferrari did the aura lap for P4 and P6.
And Carlos was right behind them.
I just, guys, so you got a net position of P5. What are you doing in aura for?
To be honest, good for them. They finished the race. After Zandvoort, they both finished the race. That's pretty good. And your loser? Mine is McLaren. But not the drivers, because the drivers obviously didn't have any say in this situation.
Yeah.
But the team as a whole.
I was going to say Hülkenberg.
Well, he lost on all sense of the words. Like, he wasn't even in the race, so I don't even consider him on track, so...
No, but his daughter was there as well.
I know. It's so cute.
Yeah, Hülkenberg and McLaren, get your shit together. Or else.
But we have a race.
You don't even know what a bad day is.
But we have a race-free weekend. And then it's Baku. Which I won't be able to watch live. Because my sister is getting married.
Yay! So we may be late again. However...
My bad. Sorry, everybody.
Listen.
To be honest, the race is at 7 to 9, and I'll be in the hotel. I'll probably be able to watch it, and I'll probably be able to film it right after that.
Your maid of honor.
Yeah.
Nox is maid of honor, everybody, and she's like, I think I may be able to watch the race.
Well, the race is on Sunday. The wedding is on Saturday.
Okay.
So I won't be able to watch the free practices, but I'll be able to watch the race. Anyways, we will see you in Baku. Bye.
Bye.